Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. Welcome to another time out here. Welcome to another time here at the book club. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thanks for making another time here with me. We got to do a book club every Sunday at 2 p.m. here, and I've just dedicated my Sunday to doing this. And someone asked me the other day, one of my mentees asked me the other day, how do I get to do this strange schedules? And I said, hey, the only other option I have is death, right? This is why I'm here. This is the reason why I'm here. At this point in time, this is what God will have me do, so I have no other choice but to arrange my schedule around that, and we'll be doing this. This is our fifth book in the series, right? And it's Business is Personal by Bethany Frankel, right? And as a truth about what it takes to be successful without while staying true to yourself, right? Not losing yourself, right? In being successful, right? Living out of the core of your being. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about not living a superficial life, but living out of the core of your being, right? Living an authentic life and succeeding at doing that. That's all that we're doing, as we do study through this book. We finished chapter 5 last week, and that was taking 5 steps ahead, looking at the big picture, being strategic in your outlook. That's what we looked at in chapter 5. Here we'll go on to chapter 6, and chapter 6 is pretty much what you do with what you see when you're strategic. Right, it's not enough just to be strategic or look at the big picture, right? You need to take action based on what you see, and that's what we're focusing here on in chapter 6, which is pivoting, right? Pivoting, right? And which is doing something about what you see. Pretty much, that's what we're going to focus on here this week. All right, let me bring up my slide here, and all right, I believe you all can see my slide. Is Business is Personal, the truth about what it takes to be successful while staying true to yourself, living from your core, right? So let's go into the meat of it. Let's go into it, and what it pretty much the title of the chapter is pretty much know when to hold them and know when to fold them. It's pretty much know when to take action, know when to pivot, right? Know when to pivot, right? And what it means to pivot, is pretty much to adapt or to improve by adjusting something, can be adjusted on the product, service, or strategy, right? When you then look at the book Good to Great, written by Jim C. Collins, and I believe that's Jim Porras, right? They both wrote the book Good to Great, and also the book Built to Last, and they talk about 2 types of changes, right? Which we might call 2 types of pivoting, right? One is when you do an evolutionary change, right? You're just making little seeming insignificant changes that gets you to get the big change. Suddenly you've changed a whole lot, but you did it by just doing little changes, right? Napoleon Hill will talk about what we call hypnotic reading, right? And that's probably the best way to make changes without it hurting, right? You can do anything if you do it in hypnotic reading, which is the same word for drifting. It does not change. They begin to do little indisciplines, little indisciplines. Suddenly find out that they're way off their target, right? But we want to use what is negative, and you can use it in a positive way also. And you make little disciplines, little disciplines, and before you know it, you've worked magic in your life. That's what you call an evolutionary change, right? There are also what is not an evolutionary change, right? Evolutionary change or hypnotic rhythm is where you make baby steps. There's also the place where you need to take big giant steps, right? And Jim Collins and Porras put that in their book. They call it the big hairy goals, right? Big hairy goals, right? And they pretty much differentiate both of them by comparing what we call two animals, right? They call the fox and the hedgehog, right? The fox and the hedgehog, right? I believe the fox is what they use as an example of an evolutionary change, and the hedgehog is what you use as an example of the big, hairy, audacious goals, right? So there is a place for taking baby steps and making change, and there is a big place for taking big giant steps for making change, right? It all depends on what you want to do. It depends also, like we say, when we talk about having a strategic strategic look at your being strategic about your company, strategic focus on your company, or your life. We're saying that we're looking at it these what are our weaknesses and our strengths as against the opportunities and threats in the environment, right? The interplay of those two will determine what you need, right? Whether you're going to do the baby steps or you're going to do the giant steps. Obviously, in every one of our lives, there needs to always be the baby steps, right? There needs to always be the baby steps. We need to be improving every day of our life. We need to be getting better, at least in baby steps, small disciplines to get better, right? You don't have to do the big ones all the time, but when occasion demands it, all right, there is a place to take the big giant steps in life. If you do that all your life will be a crisis, and nobody wants to live a life of crisis, right? That time when crisis comes, yes, it doesn't it takes more than the baby steps, right? You have to take some sudden change to adjust, to rise above the waves. Won't need baby steps, right? You're gonna need giant steps, right, to rise above the waves. We're in a day of crisis, but you don't want to live your life crisis, right? You're gonna get tired, right? You want to address the crisis when it comes and come to a place of rest where you're doing baby steps, right? If you're doing baby steps every day of your life, you will have less crisis. But if you go into indisciplines, right, when you don't watch your life on a continuous daily basis, then you're going to be living from one crisis to the other, right? We're not built to live from crisis to crisis, right? When we live from crisis to crisis, that's what leads to depression and anxiety issues, right? That's what leads to mental breakdown. That's what leads to mental disease when you are living on a continuous crisis level. We're not designed that way. We're not created that way. We're not created to have adrenaline in our bloodstream all the time. Yes, it comes into our bloodstream when there's danger. You address the danger. That adrenaline must flow out of your bloodstream when the danger is gone. If it stays there longer than it needs to, you're going to have mental breakdown. You're going to have mental disease. You're going to have depression issues. You're going to have anxiety issues, right? That is what leads to depression issues. That's what leads to anxiety issues. Normal anxiety is okay. Normal depression might be okay. But when it starts going longer than it needs to, that is bad. That is wrong. That is unhealthy, right? That won't work for you, right? You're going to lose control if you stay that way, right? So we need to watch out for that. And one of the ways to watch out for that is looking over your life on a constant, continuous basis. When you're watching over your life on a constant, continuous basis, your life will not be a life of crisis. There's nothing good about a life of crisis. Nothing. It just means that you are indisciplined, right? If you're continuously living in crisis, you are indisciplined. You're not doing the baby step evolutionary change in your life. You're not being strategic. You're not being big picture minded. You are not being taking 5 steps, being 5 steps ahead, right? If you're 5 steps ahead, you will not be living from crisis to crisis. Like we said, coming into 2023, we said there was a need to finish the year before you start. So as you come into this year, you should have already finished this year, decided how your year would be. So you are pretty much in the second creation right now, executing it, not doing it for the first time. Right? You're doing it for the first time, then you're probably going to be living from crisis to crisis. Right, and ensure that our plans do not fail this year. Ensure that we'll rise above the waves. We don't live from crisis to crisis, but we'll live as champions in this life, and we'll get the best and the most out of our 2023. That is my desire for you, right? And that's why I do all I do, right?